Hello from the beanbag and welcome to another Daily Encouragement with Naomi. Thanks for joining me. If you are new here, welcome and thank you so much for subscribing and for being here. In today's video, I am going to share a little bit more in detail around part of my story. I just believe that I need to share it because I think the more I share it, the more I'm going to get whole and healed and free. Right, let's do this. What I want to share a bit more in depth on today is around sexual abuse that I went through as a child and just how God has used that part of my story to bring freedom in another area of my life. So just looked up some stats before, and the percentage of people who are abused as children that then become abusers as adults is between 30 and 40%. If you think about that, that is quite high. I was sexually abused as a child between the ages of 8 and 10, I think, around there. The potential for me to grow up and become an abuser is the same potential for anyone else that was abused as a child. Now, I did not grow up and become an abuser, only thanks to God. There was no one else that stopped me from walking down that path. Particularly when I look over my life, I think in connection with the other trauma that I went through as a child and then as an adult, the potential probably was slightly higher for me because there was other trauma there as well. So it could have been a way that I, lashed out, fought back, whatever. But because of the fingerprints of God all over my life, right from before the foundation of this world, I walked a very different path to what I could have. There are consequences for me from that abuse that I have to walk through daily and battle with to not go down that path, because the enemy likes to get in there and just whisper things in my ear and tries to get me to go down that path. I find it so amazing that it has only been in the last few years that I've really started to unpack that whole thing and get some healing and freedom in that area. But my whole career has been working with children, and that is my passion, is children and young people. And to sit in this paradigm of I was abused, I could have become an abuser, and God has put a calling to work with children on my life. Those things are just so far apart, but I know that because God has saved me, God has pulled me out of that place, I'll never walk down that path. I know that because for all of my life that I've worked with children and young people, I have had to fight thoughts and whatever in that area and never ever acted on them and never ever will, because I would never ever want anyone to have to walk through the abuse that I walked through and the ramifications of that on my life, even as an adult. I truly believe that that is the hand of God on my life in that situation, because even though I went through it, I know he will use it for my story, for his glory. And he just put inside me this awareness of that nobody else would go through anything like that because of me. I think somehow, some way, I determined right from a very early age that I would not become an abuser, simply because I didn't want anyone else, any child, to have to grow up and deal with the trauma and the shame and everything that goes along with sexual abuse. Yes, there were times as a young adult and maybe even kind of end of teenagehood where I kind of started talking to a couple of people about it, but they weren't necessarily the right people to talk about it with. So I think, even though I talked to a couple of people about it, things in the area of healing from that kind of stalled until I started going to a professional counsellor who deals with this kind of stuff. So despite the fact that for many years I carried it and didn't deal with it, God trusted me enough to give me a heart and a passion for children and young people, and to be in positions where I was looking after them and alone with them in situations where it would be the perfect opportunity. But I never ever did, and I never ever will. And that is the hand of God on my life, and the fact that I knew each family that I walked into and looked after and spent time with, that was a privilege and an honour to be in that home looking after those children. I didn't want to do anything that would wreck that trust, the trust that I had from those parents. It wasn't worth it. I'm so thankful to God that He kept me in check and that I had people that I could talk to and know when things were difficult and things were hard, and I was dealing with stuff around consequences of walking daily through being a survivor of abuse. God is just so amazing, and this is just another way that His fingerprints have just been all over my life right from when I was little, and as I say, right from before the foundation of this world. And I often sit and go, God, it's just weird and odd and unusual that this would be my calling and passion in my life, and this is my past. And I tell you, it definitely comes to go, yeah, no, just do this or just do that, and no, it'll ruin all your credibility, the trust that people have in you. But just go do it. Past comes knocking regularly. And in this particular area, I have been able to just go, nah, go away. Sorry, not listening to you, because God has been my anchor. God has been my strength. God has been there right from day dot. And He was there even as I was being abused. And it broke His heart. And I think knowing that too, I didn't want to be somebody who broke His heart in this context. And knowingly, I know that I broke His heart many other ways. Try not to, but I do, because I am human. But I definitely didn't want to be someone who knowingly walked down that path of doing something that absolutely broke God's heart, that involved someone else. Yeah, as I said, I didn't want any child to have to go through what I went through as a child. Growing up with that, and just the kind of really hard and tough ways that it affected my life for many, many years. So thankful to God for protecting me and keeping me safe in this area, and knowing that by His grace and with His help, I can actually live out a life that is doing and involved in what He has called me to do. Because I know for some people, if God had placed a calling on your life to work with young people and children, and you have been abused, I think for a lot of people you would go, no, I can't even go there, I can't even consider that. And I understand, I get it, because it's not easy. But with God's help, with God's strength, God's love and grace and compassion, you can do what He called you to do. And I think in a lot of ways, the fact that He called me to do that and called me into those places was part of my healing, essentially, that I didn't quite know or understand or get. But to be able to walk in that strength daily, and to know that by the grace of God you are where you are, and you're doing what He's called you to do, despite your past, despite what the enemy comes to tell you about your past. God is bigger than that. God is bigger than what's happened to you in any area, whether it be sexual abuse, physical, emotional, any type of abuse or trauma. God is bigger than that. And He often uses our story to connect with others and to help bring them healing. So often it brings us healing as we walk into what God has called us into. And for me in this area, it's brought healing. Unbeknown to me, it's been part of my healing all these years. Just really felt to share that with you today, to encourage you that in spite of what your past tells you, that is not your future, and it does not define you. And if God is calling you into something that you think contradicts or is weird and doesn't make sense with your past, very well may be God calling you into that to bring healing to your life and to others. Because as a God who loves you and who is your good Father, He's not going to lead you into a situation that will embarrass you or cause you to stumble and fall and sin. I truly believe that if He knew I couldn't handle working with children, He would have given me a different desire and passion. He wouldn't call me into that if He knew it was going to be a stumbling block and it was going to cause me to fall. Yes, it is a challenge, but that's where my relationship with Him comes in, and with trusted people, where I can walk into job situations confidently knowing that He's with me, He's got my back, He's gone into that situation already, and He knows what is the outcome of every situation, because He's God and He sees the big picture. I just find it amazing how He just trusts us even when we don't think that we are worthy of being trusted, but He does, and He calls us into things to stretch us and grow us, and to just, I think, open our eyes to so much beauty, love, and just goodness, because the love and the fun times and all the things that I've had by working with different families and looking after different children at preschools and that, and it's been amazing and it's been so fun, and just kids are just so beautiful and innocent and they just love very easily, and it's just been such a privilege and honor to have been loved by those children. So be encouraged that God is at work, and He will use the things of your past that the enemy tries to come and whisper in your ear and go, oh, you're not good enough, you can't do that, you can't do that. Now look what you did here, look what happened here. You can't be trusted, you can't walk in that, you can't do that. You need to tell your past and the enemy to go away. Just remind him of his future. If he comes knocking and reminds you of your past, just remind him of his future, because his future is pretty bleak. But yeah, be encouraged and know that if God can call me into a place of extreme responsibility, and one of the, I think, the biggest places of responsibility in a family is looking after someone else's children and being invited into their home to look after their precious, precious children. God can call me to do it when my past is what it is. And also too, if we just even took the bullying, it's a pretty huge thing that I would have a career as a nanny, because I could have become very harsh and nasty and abusive verbally as well. I could have become an emotionally, physically, mentally, sexually abuser. That's what I could have become because of my past. By the grace of God, I haven't. And you know, for me, it's not even a knife edge of how close I can get. Nah, I'm all the way over there. I'm not even close to it. Not at all. Because of the hand of God on my life. That is absolutely why. And He speaks very clearly in His word about those that mess around with His children, and who cause them hurt and pain and grief. And as somebody who's called to work with them, minister to them, advocate for them, stand up for them, pray for them, well then I can't be walking in this other stuff. I've got to walk in the will of God in this area so that I don't go off to the left and the right. I stay focused on what He is calling me to do, my part that He's calling me to play in the lives of the children and the young people in this nation and in this world. Be encouraged today. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you next time with a video about who knows what. Awesome. Love you all. Bye.